Hi, everybody. Welcome to Making Law in the Senate, topic 4.6, part 2. So this is the latter half of the notes from yesterday. Please note that we will be continuing answering questions with the notes. This will assist you on your quiz and your guided readings. All right, starting off, Senate procedures to get a bill on the floor and how they are different than how the House does it. Well, unlike the House, the Senate only has one calendar versus their 5 calendars. So a lot of that has to do with the size of the Senate. The Senate has 100 people versus the 435 in the House. So all bills reported out of the committee go onto this single calendar. So it's also called to the Senate floor by the majority leader rather than going through the Rules Committee. So again, it's a little more simplified in the Senate because of just the sheer size of the House is so much larger. So the Senate is called the greatest deliberative body in the world, and that's because in the Senate, you are unrestricted or unrestrained by how long you can debate a topic. So once a senator gets the floor to speak, they can speak forever how long they want. So if they want to speak for 10 minutes, if they want to speak for an hour, if they want to speak for 8 hours, they can speak for as long as they want. They are not limited. So unanimous consent agreement is an agreement that when a senator objects to it. So it's everybody agrees. And that is if they want to limit the time of discussion about a topic. So, but it requires all of them to agree for this to happen. So they have a 2-speech rule in the Senate, and it says that no senator can speak more than 2 times on a specific question on a single day on that discussion. So if they're discussing about this legislative topic for 6 days, they can speak 2 times per day, so up to 12 times if they're called upon. In this image, you see the late Senator John Lewis, who was a civil rights icon for the civil rights movement. So filibuster, we hear this going on right now. There's a big debate whether or not they maintain, get rid of, change the rules of the filibuster. Okay, so what is it? A filibuster is a way to delay or prevent Senate action on a measure. For example, they can just speak on random topics. It doesn't even have to be related to the topic on hand. If you have an opportunity, look up these filibusters, specifically the Ted Cruz ones. They're pretty off the wall. And again, he was just trying to delay action on, at the time, it was what they call Obamacare, which is the Affordable Care Act. So how can they stop a filibuster? They have to invoke cloture. And 16 senators have to work together to submit a petition to invoke the rule. And then they have to have 60 of the senators agree and vote for the motion. So that is invoking cloture in a way to stop a filibuster. So what's a benefit for a filibuster? And that's a benefit for the minority party. So the minority party can invoke a filibuster in hopes that they can either prevent something that goes fast or too fast through legislation, or if it's not really even examined. A negative effect of the filibusters is the fact that they can cause gridlock, meaning that they can't move anywhere forward in the Senate. And then often public ridicule, as you'll see if you watch those videos, often when they do filibusters, it really just gets just very odd. So it's fodder for your late night TV hosts and comedians. So why are filibusters more common now than they've been in the past? Well, in the past, the Senate had a massive difference in the size of their parties. So either was more than 2/3 Republican or more than 2/3 Democrat. Now we have more a minimal division between the two parties. So we are currently in the 117th Congress. So if we go back a total of 5 years from earlier than now, we can see that the balance between the two have been fairly close together. The independents currently, the independents for the last 3, maybe 4 years, have voted with the Democrats. So this is how we're split in the Congress today, and this is why the vice president comes and will come whenever there's a split decision. So if it's a 50-50 in the Senate to cast their vote. Okay, so the current independents, they typically vote with the Democrats. So what the cloture rule means that 60, not 51, is the minimum number of votes necessary to pass an important bill in the Senate. Okay. Now, they had some rule changes. So the first filibuster is all the way back in 1837. Then 1917, you had the 2/3 vote. 75, we went from 2/3 to 3/5. So the House and Senate can make their own rules unless it's specifically stated in the Constitution. And changes in rules may be made by simple majority. In 2013, Democrats had control of the Senate, and they changed the filibuster rules from 60 to 51 for Senate approval of executive and judicial nominees. However, this does not apply to Supreme Court nominees. Right now, there is a call to eliminate the filibuster because it's equated with that it was to support Southern states during times of slavery. So you will have others argue, say, no, it has nothing to do with that. We're not going to get into that conversation, but that's the argument currently. And there are many people, mostly on the progressives, that want to eliminate the filibuster altogether. So what happens if both the House and Senate pass different versions of a bill? So in their normal circumstances until the last 5 to 10 years, the first House will usually concur with the other's amendments and congressional action is complete. We will see this most likely with the stimulus $1.9 trillion bill today they're voting on to send out. So it looks like the House will probably approve it. But typically when you have that close measure, they won't accept each other's version. And that's when it gets sent to the conference committee, which we talked about yesterday. And in the conference committee, that's where they're going to sit down and figure out how they can compromise. So often conference committees are referred to as the third house of Congress, and that's because a lot of compromises and legislative decisions are made by those committees. It is very rare that either house will turn down a conference committee's work. And why is that? Is because they've been given that authority to work out a compromise. So if they're going to give them the authority, they should abide by it, is the idea behind that. So once everything goes through the House of Representatives and the Senate and things are ironed out, then the bills will be sent to the president. The president has 4 options. They can sign the bill, and then it becomes law. They can veto the bill, but if they veto it, they must explain why they're vetoing the bill. Or they can just allow the bill to become law by just not touching it. So as long as it's 10 days prior to the end of the session, if they don't sign the bill, it automatically becomes law. Okay? Or they can do a pocket veto. And that means it allows it to die by not acting on it within 10 days when Congress has already adjourned its session within 10 days of submitting the bill. So if there's 10 days and Congress adjourns and they don't do anything, it becomes a pocket veto. Okay? This one's probably the most confusing one. So why is it an effective tool? Because Congress can rarely override a president's veto. So often that threat is enough for them to change their legislation. Okay, this is not on your paper, so I want you to make sure that you write it down. It's called omnibus measures, and it's where one bill has multiple topics, so it's not just a singular topic. These are more common. This is typically how all legislative bills are today, especially with those riders. And it allows those majority leaders to have more say and more power on how the bill functions and goes through each house. Okay, so this is an image of just how a bill becomes law. I want you to be able to have this so that you can see that. So if you want to write this down on the back of your paper, feel free to do so. Or at the bottom if you still have have room, so that you can have that for your quiz. So we are at the end of the notes. There are 2 video clips that are pretty funny. You have the I'm Just a Bill, which is the Schoolhouse Rock. That one's not so much funny. But if you have an opportunity, check out SNL's I'm Just a Bill. That's from Saturday Night Live. If you don't know what SNL is, it's pretty funny. It's not quite right, but it's pretty funny. So if we are in class, we will be watching this. Have a great afternoon, and make sure that you utilize this with your 4.6 guided reading. Let me know if you have any questions.